Hello, everybody. This is Sinema77, horror and cult film lover, and I'm back with another video. Before I get started on talking about today's movie, I just wanted to take a quick second to say a sincere thank you. And I'm not bullshit. I mean this sincerely. I want to say a sincere thank you because in the last few days, I've actually gotten quite a few really good compliments from subscribers, from friends, um, people I know on Facebook, and so on. And like my friend Greg Fitz, he has a YouTube channel. It's capital G, little R, little E, G, G, and it's capital F, capital L, capital A. He's got a YouTube channel. Go check him out. Um, I remember watching, some. Well, not some, but I watched a lot of his videos back in the day. He did a lot of videos where he went out searching for movies, going to pawn shops, Goodwill stores, things like that. And he always found really interesting stuff, and he always found good books and everything else, musical equipment and everything. And I remember I used to watch his videos all the time, and actually sad now that I don't, the videos are gone, and it's sad you don't get to see them anymore. But I always enjoyed his videos. He was, and he subscribed to me a few days ago, and he's been nothing but great. And I even told him, I was like, hey, I admit, like, what I'm doing here is a lot of what you've been doing over the time, and stuff like that. I'm not really doing anything different. So you're definitely an inspiration for me and stuff. And he's been really great, very complimentary about everything. And, he's awesome. And, my friends like Jared Kimball, he's always been very supportive, even from day one, he's always been supportive of me doing YouTube videos talking about movies. I just feel bad because usually the kind of movies that he likes or would probably rather I talk about are movies I don't really watch anyway, because he's more of like a comic book guy. He's more into like Marvel and DC and stuff like that. And, obviously you watch my videos. That's not what I'm into too much, but anyway, sorry. But just, people have been very kind. People have been leaving wonderful, just encouraging things to say. Don't give up, keep doing it. Um, as a matter of fact, a couple of days ago, I got a message from a man named James. He works with Mood 616, and they do a video review show called Body Bags, where they review different kind of horror movies. They do like theme weeks and things like that. And I've seen the videos. I am aware of it. And James contacted me saying like, hey, we're interested in you because we have a guy one of our guys is getting ready to quit the show, and we're thinking about bringing you in. We'll talk later and stuff like that. I mean, that's a compliment. Just, that somebody, um, that somebody would actually do that, take the time to do that. And I do appreciate it. I really do. And, people just saying, wonderful things like, hey, like I got a really great, just really glowing compliments the other day. I did a video talking about the movie, The Stepford Wives. And, I got a compliment saying, hey, it's really good. A very fun video to watch, very entertaining, actually thought provoking, stuff like that. Good stuff, keep it coming and all this other kind of stuff. And even when people, like the movie I'm getting ready to talk about, when people talk about like, hey, like it when you discuss like erotic films, like erotic thrillers, stuff like that, easily my erotic or Embrace of the Vampire video has gotten more views than anything else I've done. So, but I mean, just, the fact that people want to watch and actually give a shit about what you do. I mean, it really is. It's the most flattering thing in the world. So, but I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to everybody who've been so kind and been so complimentary. Another thing too is, before I get started talking about this movie, now, normally I always language wise, I try to keep my videos clean, but I think this time, I'm going to be honest with you right from the get go, considering the movie that we're going to be talking about and stuff. Don't be surprised if I come off sounding like a Kevin Smith movie. Okay, let's get started. I took long enough. Okay, we're back with our friend, Tinto Brass, the master of erotic cinema. And today, I already reviewed the movie Black Angel, which is, like I said, I ranted on that one. Nazi love story, nobody cares. And then I reviewed the movie Mon Amour, which is, an erotic kind of I don't want to say love story, but it's a story about a married couple who are, they're trying to figure out where their marriage is going and things like that, getting into affairs, whatnot. So, I talked about those two. Today we're going to talk about the movie Private, which, I know I still need to do Cheeky. We're going to get to that one eventually soon. So don't worry. I know, a lot of people like these videos. So anyway, here's the back of the box there. And that's the one we're going to be talking about is Private. And let's see here. I can't pull it all the way out. I can show you some, but let's see if I can do a little bit better than that. But here we go. So this is what the inside cover looks like. I can't pull it out all the way. I'm sorry. This video will get flagged because I'm showing, naked ladies' bums and, and groin area and stuff like that. I'm going to get flagged if I show that. But but anyway, this lady here is the one from Private, the blonde with the white top. And this one, out of the 3 movies that I've reviewed on this set so far, I would have to say that this one is actually kind of the most interesting at the moment because, let's see, the movie is meant to be an erotic comedy. And this one's definitely a conversation starter. You can definitely talk about this one. It's 6 short films. And they're all meant to have like an erotic, comic twist to them and stuff like that. But I don't know. This movie, I can honestly say right off the bat, I don't know if this movie is going to be for everybody because the main thing about this movie is there are stories about cheating. And, somebody who, for somebody who's insecure, somebody who's been cheated on by a wife or a girlfriend or something like that. And, it could really, this movie could actually have kind of the opposite effect on you, I might think, because, if you see, if you've been cheated on and you've been betrayed by a loved one, then you're not going to think that, you're really not going to sit there and think that, a comedy about cheating is very funny. So you got that kind of sort of thing going. And, I've been cheated on before too. And even there are moments when I was watching this movie, even I was kind of wincing. But, there's 6 short films. The first one we got is the story. Oh, what was it? I can't remember the name. I can tell you what the story's about. I just can't remember the names of all the stories. But anyway, the first story we open up with is you have this married couple, and they're vacationing in Casablanca, and they wake up one morning and they start to, she notices like he's got morning wood and everything else, and at first, he's talking about he wants her. At first, she's like, "You can touch me, just don't fuck me," and all this other kind of stuff. And he starts touching her and everything else. And then he goes and I have to say, I will admit this. It's like I never would have thought about an electric toothbrush being used like it's used in this movie. Take that how you will, but but anyway, though, so he gets an electric toothbrush and he starts using it on her, and he tells her that he wants her to talk about this fling that she had and stuff like that. And he starts screwing her and stuff like that. And they get done. They have all this sex and everything else. And then they get done. And he starts having this conversation about how, that they've been married. It's been 7 years now. And they say, when you hit 7 years, that's when a marriage can start hitting a crisis point and everything else. And he needs to keep it interesting for her. And he needs to do something for her that, she'll stay in love with him. She'll stay interested and stuff like that. And so he suggests that that there's a Moroccan, I don't want to call him bellboy, but he's kind of like a serviceman. He makes drinks at the bar. He brings them room service and things like that. And he's actually suggesting, at first, you think he's suggesting that she just sleep with the guy and everything else. But, he tells her that she says she wants him to stick it up her ass. Basically, that's her fantasy, is for her husband to screw her either in the vagina or the mouth, and for this Moroccan guy to stick it up her ass. And so, so the guy's like, okay, well, let's see what we can do about that and stuff. So he calls up room service, gets breakfast and all this other kind of stuff. So the guy, this Moroccan guy, he comes in and, he's setting up their breakfast and everything. He notices her asleep and, she throws off the sheet and everything. He can see her bare ass and her vagina and all this other kind of stuff. And of course, he's liking what he's seeing and stuff like that. So the husband comes up and they talk for a minute and, he leaves. And, So then, she gets up and everything else. And, it's kind of funny. It's all like, she gets up and she's walking to the table in high heels and she's wearing, this white top and nothing else. And she's sitting there talking and he's like getting into the idea more about, yeah, what if we, what if we invite this guy in and, he can stick it up your ass and all this other kind of stuff and everything else. And, the only thing is, I mean, I realize that this is not an American-made movie, that this is made from, another country and stuff, but in other countries, is it sexy or is it erotic when men call their wife or their girlfriend pigs, whores, bitches, sluts? Because that's one thing I noticed. There is a lot of that in this movie. There is a lot of just female name calling. As a matter of fact, I'll get to the last story, which, is kind of, it's like, at least in that sense, it kind of made sense, but I'll get to that in a minute. But you get a lot of these guys are sitting there, oh, honey, you're a fucking pig, and oh, you're a slut, and you're a bitch whore, and all this other kind of stuff, and everything else. And so he gets her on board to go, to let this Moroccan guy come up and have sex with her. So he goes down to the bar, and he's this Moroccan guy serving drinks and stuff like that. And so he gets him to pour him a drink and stuff. It's like, hey, why don't you come up to my room? And it's like, I'm dealing with my wife and all this other kind of stuff. We've been together for, 7 years now. 7 years can be a crisis point in marriage, and I want to try to keep it interesting. So why don't you come up here and do my wife, and all this stuff. So the guy, of course, he's happy to oblige and everything else. So they're getting ready and all this other kind of stuff, and he's playing with his wife's vag and all this, and so this Moroccan guy comes up and everything else. And, he tells her, flip over and all this, and tells the guy, stick it up her ass and everything else. So he puts on a condom. And I will say this, guys, lots of shots of penises in this movie. So if you don't like big, hard dongs, then you're not going to care for this too much. Other things, but I'll get to that in a minute. So the Moroccan guy ends up sticking up the woman's ass, and she's enjoying it. And he's like, yeah, and the husband's like, yeah, say you're a bitch, say you're a whore and a slut and all this other. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm such a fucking slut and all this other kind of stuff. And he sticks his dick in her mouth, and that's where the story ends. So then we get to the second story, which is called Double Trouble. Now this is about two married couples who, one wife. Okay, you got. They're kind of doing like wife swapping for the day in a roundabout way. One guy is with the other guy's wife, and they're playing tennis. And the guy playing tennis with the woman, all he's doing is talk about how badly he wants to fuck her. And she's wearing, kind of like your typical, women's tennis outfit. It's the little skirt and stuff like that, and the top, and like what you see women wear when they go to play tennis, things like that. A little bit more revealing than some, but still, I've seen it before. We've all seen it before. But he can't stop staring at the woman's ass and everything else. And that's another thing I'll get to here in a minute. And so he's just talking about how bad he wants to fuck her and all this other kind of stuff. Well, we find out that the guy who's playing tennis, his wife is with the girl that he's playing tennis with. He's with her husband. And this guy, they're in an office and stuff like that. And he's talking about like, ultimately we find out that the girl who's playing tennis and the guy in the office, we find out that they're kind of like big TV executives or something like that. And the other couple, what it is they're going to fuck these two because they want to get on TV. The husband, he wants to basically be like a TV show director, movie director or something like that. And he wants to be a star and all this other kind of stuff. And the wife, she wants to be she wants to be the host of a TV show that they got coming up. And so, so he's all like, yeah, baby, you got to audition and all this other kind of stuff. And she takes off her panties and he's in there, he's happy because her panties are wet and all this other kind of stuff. And so, they start going at it and he sits on the couch, tells her to pull out the microphone, which, means it's dick. So she does, and she starts going to town on it and stuff like that. And meanwhile, the wife with the tennis guy, they go into the shower and all this other kind of stuff, and she's blowing him too. And he starts, eating her out and all this other kind of stuff. And, they go at it and all this. And so the two, everybody goes home to their respective spouses. So the guy playing tennis, he goes home to his wife. She's staying there nude, cooking dinner. And he's talking about, and it's amazing the way, that's one thing I thought was kind of interesting with this segment was it's amazing how these people are able to lie to each other and not very good at it. They know each one, all four of these people know that the other one is lying to each other, and yet they just accept it. It's amazing how they can, put blinders on and just accept that what the other person tells them, no matter how stupid or ridiculous it is. So, he goes and, he's telling his wife, yeah, I think I got a shot at becoming a director, and all this other kind of stuff. They like me and everything else. And she's like, oh, I trust you, you trust me. And he's like, yeah, I trust you and stuff like that. Oh, I'm going to be a big star on the show and everything else and all this other kind of stuff. And then the other couple, the TV studio couple, they're getting ready to go to bed and have sex and all this other kind of stuff. And he's saying like, oh, yeah, I think she should really be the star of the show and everything else. And she's like, well, the husband, I think he would make a good director and everything else. And so, but like I said, that's kind of the interesting thing is like the blinders that these people put on to tell their lies is interesting. And I think, a lot of people have done that in real life. I think people can attest to that they've told tall tales and lies and things like that to, just basically learn to deal with a loved one or a spouse fooling around or something like that. So, but anyway, so that's the end of that segment there. Then we get to the third segment, which is a German couple, man and woman. They come to this hotel, and you got this girl who she's basically like a maid. She's dressed up in this very revealing maid outfit and stuff like that. And so they go into this hotel room and stuff. And the guy, he keeps talking about how hot the maid is and all that kind of stuff. And he keeps saying wunderbar, wunderbar. He's always telling her wunderbar, and all this stuff. And the woman keeps, hitting him and all that kind of stuff. And, so she's telling the maid, take off my boots and all this other kind of stuff. And she's taking off the boots. Well, she's flashing her crotch at this maid and all this other kind of stuff. And she's giving her all this money and everything else. And so, and then the maid goes, and it turns out the guy who's the cook in the hotel, turns out he's the boyfriend of the maid. And, she's telling him like what they're doing. And, she's giving, she gave her this much money. And they're talking about, wow, we might be able to open up a hotel of our own soon and all this other kind of stuff. And so, so the next time she's like in there and she's like the German woman, she's like drawing a bath for the guy, or no, I'm sorry. I got mixed up. The German woman, she's like beating the husband. They're doing like an S&M thing. And so the maid comes in and she tells the maid, go draw me a bath and everything else. So she's like, okay. So, she goes, draws her a bath and everything else. And so, the wife comes in and all this other kind of stuff. And, she's, the maid helps her get undressed, takes her like a dominatrix boots off and stuff like that. And she gets in the water and the maid starts playing with her and all this other kind of stuff. And the husband, meanwhile, he's coming up, he's like, wunderbar, wunderbar, he keeps saying that. And he's got like a paddle, he's smacking the maid's ass with it and all this other kind of stuff. And then, and then she starts masturbating, getting the woman off and everything else. And so then, she's out with her boyfriend again in the field and they're having sex and stuff. And, well, they did this to me, and all this other kind of stuff. But they paid me this much money and everything else. And the boyfriend's, well, yeah, don't go too far. I mean, it's great they paid you all this extra money. We'll be able to open our own hotel soon. But, in the meantime, don't go too far and all this other kind of stuff. And so, now she's back in the hotel room again with this German couple, and the wife, she goes down on the maid, gives her oral sex, and then she tells the maid, you start doing it now, and you go down on me and all this other kind of stuff. So the wife, goes down on her and everything else. The husband, he's like wunderbar, wunderbar and everything else. And so he pulls off her panties and he goes up her ass and all this other kind of stuff. You're sensing themes here, you're sensing trends here, right? So he ends up going up her ass and stuff. And then, it turns out they paid her a ton of money and all this other kind of stuff. So she's riding her boyfriend out in the field and she's talking about all this money she got. And, and everything else. And she's telling the boyfriend, don't worry, he didn't stick it in me. He stuck it up my ass and all this, basically he used the back door and all that other kind of stuff. So they're like, now we're going to have our hotel and stuff like that. So they're starting to think of names and everything else. And that's pretty much where that story ends. Okay, now we get to the, now we're to the fourth story. The fourth story, this one here is like really kind of hard to believe because you start off with this man and woman. They're laying on a beach and stuff like that. And she's got this barely there underwear and all the guys are staring at her and all this other kind of stuff. And the husband, he's getting jealous and everything. He's telling her to cover up, stop showing your ass in public and, you bitch, whore, pig, slut, and all this other kind of stuff and everything else. And, he's like, remember the time you fucked that guy? Remember the time you fucked that guy? I want to know. Tell me details. And she's like, you're a masochist and all this other kind of stuff and everything else. And he's all like, tell me, and all this other kind of stuff. So she starts telling him about all these sexual escapades that she had and, guys that she'd been with. Like she went to her gynecologist. She had sex with her gynecologist and other guys too and everything else. Like she was doing a treasure hunt with a guy and he ended up like, like he was leading her out and basically gets her down on the ground, starts eating her out and says that, she's all like, we didn't get the treasure. He's like, oh, I found the treasure. All right. And stuff like that. And then what you realize though, at the end of this segment is, this one's kind of a short one. What you end up realizing at the end of this segment is that the husband gets turned on by hearing his wife talk about her sexual escapades. And he's all sitting there, promise me, you fucking whore, slut, bitch, you're going to keep cheating on me and telling me all about it and everything else. And, that's what turns me on. And I love hearing about that. And it's like, I guess that is a real thing, but it's just like, that would be extremely rare as far as I know, because like most guys I know, the last thing that they ever want to hear about is to hear that their wife or their girlfriend having sexual escapades with anybody. They don't want to hear about that. A lot of guys kind of like, most of the guys I know, like their wife or their girlfriend, when they hook up with them, pretty much like the less they know about them, the better, stuff. So I don't know, to each their own, right? But I thought that one was kind of like a little far-fetched. Not like the other ones have been totally realistic, but anyway. Okay, so now we get to the fifth story. Was it? I think it's called like evil thoughts, evil unto him whose evil thoughts unto others, something like that. I don't remember. Like I said, I know the stories, I just can't remember the titles. So anyway, so you got this guy. He's shooting pictures of his girlfriend's ass. Well, they're about ready to get married and stuff like that. And he's shooting nude pictures of her and stuff like that. And he's telling her to, play with herself and to, suck on her fingers and all this other kind of stuff and everything else. And so he's like, yeah, get up there, and put some pillows under your belly and stick up your ass so I can see it and stuff like that. And, this guy likes, pictures of women's asses and all this other kind of stuff. And so he's, wanting to, telling this girl he wants to do her in the ass. And she's like, no, we're not going to do that until we get married. She's like, once, when you put a ring on it, then you can screw me in the ass all you want. She's like, I'm not even looking forward to it because your dick is too big and all this other kind of stuff. And, she has sex with him. She just, the one thing he wants more than anything in the world is to do her up the ass, and she won't let him do that. But anyway, he's talking about like, yeah, I took these pictures of you. They're going to be great. We're going to get this, calendar, and, we're going to meet with this couple and all this other kind of stuff. And so, let's go and, we'll have a party with this couple and everything else. And like the guy he's obsessed with her ass. He's just completely obsessed with it. He wants to do her in the ass more than anything else in the entire world. And she won't let him do it and everything else. They'll do other things. They do all the other stuff. She just won't let him do anal on her. So anyway, so they go to this party and everything else, and it's a husband and wife and everything else. The wife is like very accommodating and stuff like that. And so she, they're talking and stuff, and the wife, she spills, like champagne on the girl's top, and she's like, come with me to the bathroom. So they go to the bathroom, and the guy, the husband, they're sitting on the, he tells her, come here, sit on the couch, smoke a cigar, have some champagne and all this other kind of stuff, and he's all like, yeah, your woman's got a great ass, and I think the pictures are going to be great and all this other kind of stuff. And So he's, showing him slides of, other pictures of women that he took. And he's all like, yeah, he's all like, and so the guy's like, is this like, different hotels and stuff? He's all like, yeah, it's a hobby of mine. He's all like, I love my woman's ass. And, I want to take pictures of her ass in every hotel in the country, or every hotel in the world, really. So anyway, so the two women are in the bathroom and stuff like that. And so the one woman, she's like, can I pee? I need to sit on the toilet. Can I pee? And she's like, yeah, and all this stuff. And the woman gets excited about it, and she's all like, oh man, the woman's sitting on the toilet peeing, and the other woman gets down on her knees, let me see it, and all this kind of stuff. And, and all this, spread it open and all this. And so, the woman's touching her down there. It's like, oh my God, and she's like, oh, I want to drink it and everything else. And, and so she's like, basically she's tasting the girl's piss, and, say, oh, you taste like champagne and all this other kind of stuff. And, oh, let me eat you and all this. And so, she does. She goes down on this girl while she's sitting on the toilet and stuff like that. So they go back into the living room and stuff like that. And the one wife, is like, the girlfriend, she's sitting on the couch and everything else. And, like her boyfriend, and this other guy's wife, they start playing music and everything else. And he takes her in the other room, and they start screwing and all this other kind of stuff. Well, meanwhile, like the girlfriend, she's sitting on the couch, and you can tell she's kind of blitzed, she's drunk and everything else. And the husband, he sits across from her, and, they're like flashing each other and everything. He's showing her his dick and balls, and she's showing him her vag and all this other kind of stuff. And they're kind of just doing this little show back and forth. And she starts crawling along and everything else. And he crawls after her and all this. And so, she's upset. She's jealous because her boyfriend, fiance, is screwing this married woman in the other room and stuff like that. And so she decides she's going to let this guy, out of revenge and what's fair is fair kind of a thing. She's going to let this guy go ahead and do her. Well, turns out they go back to the hotel, the guy and the girlfriend, they go back to the hotel room and stuff. And he's talking about like, oh my God, she was wild. She did everything and all this other kind of stuff. And she did it, whatever you could imagine, she did it and all this other kind of stuff. And she said, yeah, the husband, he was kind of wild too and everything else. And so she goes and she sits on a bidet and she's washing out her butthole and vagina and stuff like that. And she mentions that the husband, he basically, she's all like, before I knew what was happening, he was doing me up the ass. And the boyfriend flips his shit on this. I don't think he was so much jealous about the other stuff, but the fact that, and he's all like, you fucking bitch, how could you let him do this and everything else? He gets to fuck you in the ass and I don't, and all this other kind of stuff. And she's all like, hey, he's like, first of all, he wasn't as big as you are and everything else. So it didn't hurt, when he stuck it up my ass. But, at the same time though, too, it's all like, I told you, it's like, I'm keeping my promise, when you marry me and all this stuff, it's like, you can have my ass all you want, just, but I told you, I'm not looking forward to you doing me up the ass because it's going to hurt and stuff like that. And, he turns around and he tells her like, I'm not going to marry a fucking bitch. And that's where the segment ends. So that one's kind of like very off-putting, kind of strange in that one. And now we finally get to our final one. And, oh boy, this one was pretty interesting. This one I thought actually for a comedy, this one was the one that did actually give me a chuckle. Got a, I believe they're Italian. Yeah, this married couple, and they're vacationing in supposed to be London. And so they're going and they're in their hotel room and stuff like that. And the guy, he's, looking at his wife and everything else, and she's taking a shower and stuff, and he's so horny for her, and he can't wait to get it in her and all this other kind of stuff. And so, actually, this one I do remember the name of the story. The story is called "Call Me Pig" because I like it. And so and they're getting ready to settle in and have sex, and they notice like this little flicker in the window across the way, and it turns out that there's actually somebody. They realize somebody's watching them, and the wife, she's all into it. She's, oh my God, this, somebody's watching me because they think I'm hot and everything else. But the guy, he's not too into the whole thing. And she's like, no, leave it open. Leave the windows open and all this stuff. And so he's like, I'm not really keen on these. No, go ahead. Leave the windows open. It'll be fine. So he goes ahead and he starts, having sex with her and stuff like that. And all this other kind of stuff. And they get done. And, they're like he keeps bringing up her. Apparently, she's like a school teacher, and she keeps like, "Stop talking about work. We're supposed to be on our honeymoon," and all this other kind of stuff. So the next day, they go into like a lingerie shop and stuff, and they're looking for this stuff. And the sales lady is like really turned on by the wife, and so they're looking at different. And she's like, "Would you like to see me in this? Would you like to see me in that?" And he's all like, "Yeah, I'd like to see you in that." And so, the sales lady comes up and she's like, "Can I help you?" And yeah, I want to try this on and stuff like that. And she's like, "Here, come with me at the dressing room and everything else." And yeah, go ahead. It'll be okay. And all this stuff. So they go into the dressing room and the dressing lady really starts trying to get at this married woman. I mean, she's like, feeling her up, going down on her, all this other kind of stuff. And, finally the husband comes in and he's all like, "Can I come in?" And she's like, "Yeah, go ahead and come on in," and stuff like that. And, so the husband comes in, the sales lady's like, "Yeah, nothing's going on here," and all this other kind of stuff, even though like she was just totally like trying to rape the guy's wife in the in the booth and stuff. But anyway, so they go back to their hotel room and stuff, and it's that night and everything else, and so she's dressing up and everything else, and the guy kind of realizes that she's doing it because they know that this guy is watching. And she likes the attention. She likes that this guy's watching and stuff like that. And so she's like, leave the blinds open. So they start having sex and everything else. And she's telling the husband and everything, "Call me pig, call me a pig." And, cause I like it and everything else. So he's calling her a pig. He's calling her a slut, a whore, a bitch, all these other kind of things and stuff like that. And they get done having sex and everything else. And, and she's looking behind, she can see the guy, he finally turns the light on. You can see the guy's jerking off and everything else. And so they get done and, he finishes and all this stuff. And they get a phone call. Well, before they get a phone call, the wife is telling them, like, "I think it's such a turn on that, you're having sex with me and somebody gets turned on watching us do it and, gets turned on looking at me and all this other kind of stuff and everything else." So they get a phone call and turns out it's from the guy across the way. And she's like, "Yeah, okay, So put down the phone and the guy's like, "Is it him?" And says, "Yeah, what do you say?" And she's all like, "He wasn't watching me, he was watching you." And the guy's like, "Oh shit." He's like, "Close the goddamn windows and turn the lights off and everything." She's like, "No, and all this other kind of stuff. Well, so like, "Fucking asshole, I thought he liked looking at me. He likes looking at your dick and all that stuff and everything else." And so that was the one I admit kind of did give me a chuckle. And that pretty much, is the end of it. I'm sorry this video is getting long, but it's just, this was 6 short films we were discussing here. Overall, like I said, this one was a little bit more interesting. It was a little more thought-provoking than the other two because, it does bring up some serious issues about monogamy and relationships and cheating and things like that. And like I said, if you're the kind of person who is insecure or you've been cheated on and you don't find the idea of, somebody cheating on other people funny, then yeah, this movie's not going to work for you. I mean, if you're able to kind of just let it roll off your back and stuff like that, then, I guess you'd be all right. The nudity is in total abundance here. I mean, if you're concerned, like, hey, is there female nudity? Oh yeah, there's plenty. There's plenty. I will say this though, if you are the kind of guy or woman who is grossed out by female body hair, what I'm talking about is I'm talking about hairy vaginas. I mean, I'm talking about muff. If you are grossed out by that kind of thing, if you're the kind who prefers a shaved vag, you're not going to like this because these are all muffs. This is all, if you don't like women with underarm hair, armpit hair, you're going to be turned off by this. There are a number of times in this movie that the women, like, they're beautiful, but they do have armpit hair. So if you're the kind of person who is grossed out and disgusted by that kind of thing, you're not going to like this. If you try to watch this with a girlfriend or a wife or anything like that, if she is totally opposed to butt stuff, not going to like this because there is so much obsession over women's asses in this movie. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I appreciate a beautiful woman's ass as much as anybody does, but all this talk about ass play and anal sex and stuff like that. I mean, there's lots of it in this movie. And if you have a girlfriend or a wife who's not into that, they don't want to watch anything about that, then yeah, they're not going to like this movie. So, I mean, that's kind of the thing. This movie, it's definitely not for everybody. It's definitely acquired taste. If you're not into, like I said, if you're not into that kind of thing, I would steer clear of this. Let's see. If you just want to see beautiful naked women and everything else, you're going to get that a lot. Lots of beautiful naked women. If you're turned on by subjects like I said, anal sex, if you're turned off by seeing, let's see here, like women drinking piss, things like that. I mean, if you're turned off by this one goes pretty far, and like I said, even though it's supposed to be erotic, that's why I keep saying, like, is this man's movies? I mean, I guess it's different. Maybe because we're in America or something like that, but is this erotic or is it more pornography? So I kind of tend to go back and forth on that one. So, but I mean, it's definitely interesting. Like I said, it is a noodle scratcher if you watch it, but like I said, just this movie is not going to be for everybody. So, and especially if you're not keen on the idea of watching a movie that's just stories of people cheating on each other, then yeah, you're not going to like this. But like I said, though, if you just want to see naked women, if you don't mind women, like I said, if you're okay with women with armpit hair and you're okay with women with, bush, and all that kind of stuff, if you're okay with that, you'll be fine with this. You're good to go. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. I've gone on too long. This video is over 36 minutes already. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up. We talked about Private, the third film in the Tinto Brass Maestro of Erotic Cinema Collection. We have one more to go, Cheeky, and then we'll be done with this box set. And that's going to about do it. I think I've said pretty much everything I need to say on this, son. So that's about it. Yeah. So if anybody took the time to sit and watch all this, thank you again. I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. Again, I thank everybody for all the wonderful, warm comments and nice things that they've said, talking nicely about my reviews and videos and things like that. I do appreciate you all for that. I really do. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. This is Sinema77, horror and cult film lover, and we're going to be back with the final film in the Tinto Brass Maestro of Erotic Cinema Collection, Cheeky. We're going to be back with that one very soon, so hang tight. Oh, sorry, my camera almost fell. Hang tight, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.